All right, guys, it's Mrs. Cameron here. We are continuing with our ACT math practice. On to question number 21 from our purple packet. It says, what is the slope of the line given by the equation 21x minus 3y plus 18 equals 0? So when I'm looking for a slope, I'm looking to have my equation written in the linear equation greatest hits. What's that formula? It starts with a y and then it goes to an equals. What is that formula? Y equals, if you said y equals mx plus b, you were thinking the same formula as me. So now, when we write out this, y equals mx plus b, this is a formula you would need to have memorized for this test. ACT does not give you a list of formulas. And this formula is called the slope intercept formula, where your slope is what letter? It's your M, and your y-intercept is your B. So if we isolate this y, if we solve this equation for y, we can see that our slope will be there with whatever's in front of the x. So I'm going to say 21x minus 3y plus 18 equals 0. And now I want to isolate the y. The easiest way that I can see to get rid of my minus 3y is to add it to both sides. Add 3y on the other side of the equals plus 3y. That leaves us with 21x plus 18 equals 3y. And if I want to write here, I can move it to the front, equals 3y. I could leave it back there if I wanted to too, but I'm just going to move it here. And now one more step to get rid of that. 3 is 2. What's the 3 and the y doing together? Multiplying. What's the opposite of multiply? Divide every little piece by 3. That'll make our 3's cancel to a great big invisible 1, which means our y is only by ourselves like we wanted. And now we can see it. Y equals 21x over 3 plus 18 over 3. And I can come right here and say that my slope is what's with the x right here. Oops, 21 over 3. Let me put that 3 back in. Got a little mixed up. And what is 21 divided by 3? Because every fraction is division. So 21 over 3 means 21 divided by 3 is 7. Or from right here, you could put this on the calculator and look at the graph. Clear, y equals 21 thirds x plus 18 thirds. And anywhere I have a fraction, I'm just going to put it in parentheses because I'm feeling lazy. And then hit graph. And then you can see between the points here, right? We have a point here and a point here. And we're going up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going up by 7. Let's see here. If we look at the table, it'll be a little easier to see. So every time our y is increasing by 7. -1 up to 6, that went up 7. 6 up to 13, that went up 7. 13 to 20, that went up 7. Every time we're increasing by 7, so we know our slope is indeed 7. Number 22 says, which of the following is the least common denominator for the expression below? So we want to look at the denominators to figure out what would the least common denominator be. And to figure that out, everything in the denominators is multiplying. So what's the biggest A? What's the biggest B? What's the biggest C? And that's what we want. A squared times B squared times C squared. J is our correct answer. And then continuing on to question number 23. What number can you add to the numerator and denominator of 5/8 to get a half? Let me get out of this graph, clear. Okay, so we got a fraction, alpha, y equals. Option 1, what number can you add to the numerator and the denominator? So that means to the top and the bottom. Numerator is the top of our fraction. Denominator is the bottom of our fraction. So I've got my fraction here. 5/8. And let's see what happens when we say 5 plus -5/8 plus -5. Do we get a half? No. And then when you have this here and you want to pull it back up, I'm just going to hit second, enter, and that gives me back my previous entry. Answer choice B, we're back solving, so -5 was not the answer. A is not it. Try B, change the 5s to 3s. And thus 2/5 is not a half. Pull it back up again. Try -2, try answer choice C. And we got a half. And if your calculator is giving you a decimal for your answers here, remember you can hit math. Option 1 turns your answer to a fraction, or math. Option 2 turns your answer to a decimal. And either way, we know that C is our correct answer. And then question number 24 says, if x plus y equals 13 and 2y equals 16, what is the value of x? And this is a system of equations. And it's pretty easy to solve for y if we look at the second equation. If 2y equals 16, then 1y equals what? What's the 2 and the y doing together? Multiplying. What's the opposite of multiplication? Division. So divide both sides by 2. So if 2y equals 16, then y equals 8. And now we can substitute that in. If y equals 8, then x plus y, meaning x plus 8, equals 13. What number plus 8 equals 13? You got it. It's 5. And then continuing to question number 25, it says if the inequality, the absolute value of m is greater than the absolute value of n is true, then which of the following must be true? So, could m be equal to n? Could m be less than n? Could m be greater than n? Could m be greater than 0? And our correct answer here is going to be B, that absolutely m cannot be equal to n, because the absolute value of any number, if it's 0, cannot be greater than the absolute value of 0. It would be equal. Or if you had a positive number, 5 cannot be greater than 5. Or a negative number just turns to positive. It can't be greater. It would always be equal. So B is our correct answer here for question number 25. Now we're going to keep moving to question 26. Given that y minus 5 equals a half of x plus 1 is the equation of a line, at what point does the line cross the x-axis? I sure am noticing that a lot of times on this ACT practice test, we're having to isolate our y. If that's not something that you have down and you're having to wait for me every time when we're isolating the y, I recommend that you look on IXL or you Google some practice for isolating the y variable. Without being able to do that on your ACT, you're going to be pretty stuck, even especially with trying to use the graphing feature on the graphing calculator. If you can't isolate the y, you are stuck. So let's look here, right? I just gave a big hint. What's our first step? I want to look at the graph and see where does it cross the x-axis. In order to do that, let me clear out my old graph. I need my y to be on the side of the equal sign only by itself. I need to get rid of my minus 5. How do we get rid of a minus 5 to cancel it to 0? Plus 5 and plus 5. I'm going to go real lazy. I'm not even going to say, I could say 1 plus 5 is 6. I'm not even going to do it. I'm just going to say y equals 1/2 x plus 1 plus 5. And I'm going to let the calculator do the work for me. So let me put in my fraction, alpha y equals, option 1, 1/2, 1/2 x plus 1 plus 5. Copied it, graph it, and I can't see on my graph, but I can go straight to my table. Second graph gives me the table. What is x when y is 0? That's where it's crossing the x-axis. Oh, there it is. Y is 0 when x is -12. Be careful on a question like this. It is asking for your what point does the line cross the x-axis. That is your x-intercept. So you want to know what is x when y is 0. Right here on the table, it'll give it to you. Another way to solve this, you could go back here to the original equation. I'm going to erase all of that. And just put in a 0 for your y. 0 minus 5 equals 1/2 x plus 1. And solve for x. Subtract 1 on both sides. 0 minus 5, -5 minus 1. -6 equals half of x. What's the opposite of half of something? Multiply it by 2. Whatever you do on one side of the equal, you have to do on the other side of the equal. That's going to make your half times 2 cancel out to give you x-intercept equals 2 times -6. -12. Either way, by using the calculator or doing the math by hand, we got the same answer. And then the next two questions, number 27 and 28, they're both using this diagram. Number 27 says, what is the area in square feet of the living room? Okay. And our living room is this section right here. And we want to find the area. How do we find area? Area equals base times height. Or you could say area equals length times width. However, whichever, any way you want to get to it, that's fine. So my base or my length across here, if all the way across is 18, but I don't want to count this part, I need to do what this for? And the 18. Take away. Thus, 18 minus 4 is 14 times the height. So my height of the living room, or my width of the living room, however you want to call it, however you want to look at it, I know all the way up across the house is 20, but the kitchen is 8, and the living room doesn't go past the kitchen. So 20 minus 8, that's 12. And now 14 times 12 in square feet, we have 168 square feet. We got our answer for number 27. And then real quick, let's look at number 28. It says, what is the perimeter in feet of the ground floor of the townhouse? Perimeter of the ground floor of the townhouse. Okay, that's what we're looking at, is this picture. Is the ground floor of the townhouse. And what is perimeter? I usually think about a fence when I think about perimeter. Perimeter is when you add up the sides. So this side is 20, and this side across from it will also be 20. And then across this way is 18, and up over here is also 18. And we're just going to add those up. 20 plus 20 plus 18 plus 18. Enter. 76 feet. Answer choice F. And then I've got 2 more questions for this video, and then I'm going to take a little break. Question number 29 says, 3 years ago, the population of a certain species of bird was calculated at 20 birds per acre. This year, a biologist recorded a total of 47 birds in an area equal to 3 2/25 acres. By about what percentage has the bird population in the biologist's sample decreased over the last 3 years to the nearest tenth? So, 3 years ago, we had 20 birds per 1 acre. Birds per acre. 20 to 1. Now, birds per acre, we have 47 birds to 3.25 acres. So the easiest way for me to compare is to say if there was 20 birds per 1 acre, how many birds would there have been 3 years ago per 3.25 acres? And I'm just going to do equivalent fractions. I'm going to work with equivalent fractions. If 1 turns to 3.25, how did it get there? We multiplied by 3.25. And whatever you do to the denominators at the bottom, you have to do to the top. So 20 times 3.25 equals 65. So 3 years ago, we would have expected 65 birds per 3.25 acres, but now there's only 47 birds per 3.25 acres. So how much did it decrease? It decreased by 65 birds minus 47 birds per 3.25 acres. And I can just put that all in together. Alpha y equals option 1, 65 minus 47 over 3.25 acres. So let's see. 13 over 3.25. Oh wait, that's not what I want to divide by. My bad. Oh shoot, why did I delete everything? How much did we decrease by? We decreased by 65 birds minus 47 birds per 3.25 acres. So we decreased by 18 birds. Let me reread this. What percentage has the bird population sample decreased? So we decreased by 18 birds over the last 3 years to the nearest 10th. Out of how many birds did we start with in our sample? We started with 65. My bad. So we want 18, our difference, divided by the amount of birds we started with, 65. And now to turn our decimal to a percent, again, we have to multiply our answer times 100. And now we can see the answer rounded to the nearest 10th. 9 tells the 6 to go to a 27.7. You see why I'm almost ready for a break? Okay, question number 30. A right triangle that has sides measured in the same unit of length is shown below. For any such triangle, the tangent of alpha times the sine of b is equivalent to what? Okay, so my sine, cosine, tangent. You can see those in the middle of the calculator, right? Sine, cosine, tangent. And I know they kind of frown upon memorizing this little trick these days, but this is the way I learned it, and this is probably the way your parents learned it. So this is the way I'm going to go for this because it's so quick. Sine, cosine, tangent. Something to memorize here for these trigonometric ratios is so, ka, toa. And your sine ratio is your opposite over the hypotenuse. Cosine ratio is your adjacent over the hypotenuse. And your tangent ratio is your opposite over adjacent. And right away, we can see the hypotenuse is our longest side, our side across from our 90-degree angle. And now the tangent of A is our opposite over adjacent. So opposite A, you have Z, and the adjacent side is X, not the hypotenuse. Z over X, and your sine of angle B sine is opposite over hypotenuse, Y. And that's going to be Zx over xy. And what do you do when you have y divided by y, or x divided by x? Same thing divided by same thing. They're going to cancel to a big old 1. So it just equals to z over y. I noticed oftentimes on ACT or CLT, they want to show that something that looks very complicated simplifies to something very simple. So if I were guessing, I would have guessed F or H, because it's always, oh, something so complicated simplifies to something simple. If I was in a guessing mode. And that was it for this video. I'm going to go ahead and give myself a little water break, and I will catch you back on the next one.